Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 heroes in Dota right now. So literally the 5 best heroes in the game. And I'm going to be going over the entire item build for the entire match. Starting with the starting items, right? So let's say I say Wraith King, who's number 3 on this list. We'll go over the starting items like Gauntlet, Branches, kind of talk about why they're good, why they're important, when to deviate from the norm. And yeah, we'll go through 5 of those heroes, talk about it, and give you guys a very clear idea of what you should be spamming in your pubs. Because at the end of the day, playing meta is important, makes the game a lot easier, and let's get into it. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the Game League website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up. Alright, starting out at number 5, the 5th best hero of the patch, is a hero I actually think is much better than even number 5. I think maybe this is top 3 hero of the patch, but because it's difficult, it's Lycan. Alright, Lycan has received many buffs as of late. It recently just received the Vlad's buff. It received a direct buff to its agility and agility gain. It received the buff to shapeshift not too long ago. And honestly, I think the ability to take towers and objectives is very good. Also, there's so much farm on the map, and Lycan is great at farming. So I think really the meta shapes up to be very good for Lycan right now. Hero has a 51% win rate on Dota buff. It's much higher on Dota 2 Pro Tracker, so the better you get, the more time you put into the hero, the more you're a spammer, I think the more this hero pays off. Let's get into the item build. So I've seen a few item builds you can start on Lycan. There's the Giga Stat build if you super want to man up and chat up on denies, which is 2 circlets, 3 branches, and tangos. That is the most possible damage for denies. Then there's 5 branches and tangos, which gives you comparable damage. I personally prefer this build if you're going for the damage deny build, because I think that tripling the cost for 2 stats is not exactly worth it. I'm not a huge fan of the circlets. Also, you don't want to build them into anything, so yeah, I'm not a fan of them at all. I prefer 5 branches and 3 tangos to make sure you can contest denies and have a little bit of stats to fight early on. And the final build is if you want to fight against heroes that cast a lot of spells, you go 1 and 3 branches. Keep in mind, Lycan's a universal hero, that's why stats are so important. After that, you basically buy tangos, right? If you want a build that has no tangos like the 1-3 branches, you buy tangos. If you need more tangos, you can buy 6. However, typically you want to avoid it and just rush Helm. This is going to obviously build into your Helmet of Dominator, which is your first item. The only item I think you can buy in between is maybe Blightstone, which I think is a really cool angle with Howl. Just doubling down on minus armor is very powerful when heroes just don't have armor in the laning stage. And this is definitely an idea you can consider, but is risky. So yeah, rushing Helm of the Dominator is the way to go. After Helm of the Dominator, Lycan's a very simple build hero, you just go Helm 2. From there, I think there's honestly a lot of angles, but the most reliable one is just rushing Assault Cuirass. This kind of helps Lycan's not incredible armor, even though Vlad's just got buffed by 1 armor, but still, it's 1 armor. You rush Assault Cuirass, and the reason why I see Kasana do this, one of the top Lycans, is because of the fact that it allows you to Rosh solo and take towers and obscenely fast. It also allows you to solo Tormentors. So when it comes to objectives, this item is just straight up insane. The only other build you can kind of go, I would say, is just buying Shard right after Helm. It creates a wolf in one of the 3 waves every 30 seconds, and this gives you a lot of farm over time. Or you can buy drums, just kind of amp your damage, it makes you tanky, gives you some stats. You're universal, you can use the stats for damage. It's not bad, right? It's a fine item, and it's the damage of your wolves and your creeps as well for taking towers and killing heroes. It's really solid, but you don't benefit from the movement speed when you're in ulti, which is why the item isn't as popular. Then from there, it just depends on the game. If the enemy is buying 4 staffs and Ghost Scepters to deal with you, you should be buying a Nullifier after the AC. If you have a carry that truly benefits from the movement speed like Sven, or Slark, or Juggernaut from Aghanim Scepter, where you basically can shapeshift a teammate with Wolf Bite, then you should be buying the Ags after the Assault Cuirass. The only other item I would say maybe you could buy, I mean, to be fair, there's like a lot of items I guess you theoretically could build on a Lycan. Like maybe there's an angle for Blade Mail in some games. I've seen Atos look honestly good, because sometimes the hero has like a lockdown problem and you want to click Howl and burst supports. Like Atos is kind of nice. It's cheap, it's lockdown, it's sort of cool. But yeah, the most standard build is just Nullifier Ags, something along those lines. Nullifier BKB, Ags BKB. And then in terms of late game, it's just like a Abyssal or Bloodthorn. Just basically more lockdown, more disable, because that's what the hero lacks. Alright, getting into the 4th best hero is Jakiro. It's funny, Jakiro's just been good for a minute now. Like, I don't want to hype up Jakiro too much. I don't really think the hero is like obscenely broken this patch, but a lot of the top 5s got nerfed. Like a lot, I would say a huge majority of them got nerfed, and Jakiro just isn't getting touched. It's kind of been the story for Jakiro for forever, which is like he just gets ignored at the highest level because, yeah, I do think he's a little bit weaker the higher MMR you go, but not by a lot. I honestly think that in the pro scene, the hero's pretty good and should be considered. Like, people just don't look at it at all. I don't know exactly why. I think it's fun and strong. In terms of a top support, if you want one that's just hyper reliable, it's Jakiro. And so yeah, here's the build. And this can be for position 4 or 5, I think both are fine. You go 2 branches, 6 tangos, blood grenade, fairy fire, ward, sentry ward, and then mango. Just something along the lines of a ton of stats. You basically just stat up, the hero needs quite a bit of mana. You can buy a clarity, but honestly, for the most part, just buy a clarity later on. In terms of the skill build as well for this hero, this is something I want you to keep in mind. For Lycan, it's pretty straightforward, which is why I didn't cover it too much. But for Jakiro, one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is maxing E. I used to be a giga hater of this build. I've kind of come around to it, especially after they've buffed it. They made the ability to do quite a bit more damage to heroes, and that's the selling point for me. It's like a kill ability now, and it really allows you to take towers. Especially with how many glyphs there are and how broken tier 2 glyphs are, having maxed E gives you the capability to take tier 2s and even tier 1s very early on into the game due to the attack speed slow going through the glyph. So yeah, the item build is basically a bunch of stats, then you buy boots, you buy raindrops, you buy magic wand, basically all the small items that are effective in the early game. You're a battle hero, just buy wand, raindrops, boots every single game, maybe windlace. And then from there, frankly, one of the nicest parts about Jakiro is that he's super not item reliant, right? He's one of those heroes that just clicks his buttons and you don't need any items to enable it. Maybe Aether some games, but not really. And so yeah, if your team lacks catch, buy an Atos and set up all your spells with it. Do you have a lot of magic damage? Buy a Veil. A lot of physical damage? Buy drums. Enemy team has a lot of magic damage? Buy a Glimmer. Need a Dispel? Buy a Lotus. Like, just buy whatever you want, buy whatever's good for the game. The hero's pretty good at farming, tends to stay alive in team fights, and yeah, honestly, I don't have too much to say about Jakiro. He hasn't changed that much. It's just a damn good hero. Next up at number 3, said it earlier, I'll say it again, we got a Wraith King. Wraith King got nerfed last patch, but by like nothing. It's like 3 damage on skeletons, but they did 37. So it's not nothing. I mean, to be fair, you will feel it, I guess, sometimes. Let's just get into the build. This hero is good. Can be played safe lane, can be played off lane. I think either is just as good. Very powerful hero. Skeletons just do way too much damage ever since they made them do 25% more damage to heroes. The starting item build is basically 1 gauntlet, 2 branches, Quelling Blade, stick. If you don't need stick, I think it's a bad stick lane, just go 2 gauntlets, 2 branches, Quelling Blade, tangos. That's going to give you the most damage. Basically, you want to buy a bunch of strength items, Quelling Blade in my opinion. I don't like buying the 2 gauntlets that some people do, like 2 gauntlets, 2 branches, stick. I can kind of get behind this build sometimes because it makes you tanky, so it's harder for people to all in you early on. Like, it makes it basically where you can chat up a bit and contest more denies and be less susceptible to getting all in or something like that. But I personally think just buying the Quelling Blade so you can see us easier for the skeletons is nice. And like, it's like nice for cutting trees for the skeleton to get vision quicker, right? When you're going from camp to camp later on. I don't know, I like having Quelling. And yeah, from there you just buy tangos. The only exception is sometimes Ring of Protection's good against like Venge and heroes that have minus armor. You can kind of buy like this Ring of Protection. Your hero's like 1 base armor and 2 when it buys some stats. It's terrible. From there, just buy as many tangos as you need. You should have a stick in most lanes. Maybe a mango if you're like really fighting a lot for whatever reason. And then from there, I like buying a Blightstone. I think Blightstone's insanely good on this hero. You do all physical damage. It's just nice. And then typically you all in heroes with the help of a support. And a lot of the good supports with Wraith King are like right click heavy heroes like Techies and Skywrath and Pugna, like all these types of your Lion, just a lot of stun, like heavy stun, heavy physical. So I think the Blight's great. And then from there you go phase boots, you should have a wand. I personally think armlet's the build. Even on offlane, I don't know, I just like the armlet. The hero needs armor. You might be like, oh, what about Blade Mail? Yeah, I mean, I like Blade Mail. My problem with Blade Mail is like, I think Blade Mail in some games is extremely good, right? Of course, it's always been the case. If the enemy team has uncontrollable sources of damage, like Gyrocopter, for instance, or like Luna, then like Blade Mail's insane. But if you're trying to kill people who don't do that, then you want an armlet. It's a much better farming item than Blade Mail. You kill the camps much faster, and you're way better at solo killing people. Like, it's not even comparable. Like, Blade Mail's single target capability, unless it's a good game for it, is just not even close to Armlet. Armlet is way more damage. So yeah, also the buildup, I would say, for Armlet is way better in the laning stage. Like, the only maybe a redeeming quality of Blade Mail in the buildup is the Chainmail is like kind of okay, but you already have phase boots, so you sort of have some armor. So I don't know, you can buy like Gloves of Haste and Blades of Attack and it feels super nice. Some people also just rush Radiance. I think for carry you should go Armlet most games and then into Radiance because you're going to have to do the physical right clicking. I think for offlane sometimes people just buy Radiance and then maybe Blade Mail or just Radiance into Blink because they see a vision where they want to get a Radiance so they can farm a bunch and like go into the middle of the enemy team and be tanky, kind of, like with the evasion. and they want to get a blink soon after that so they can initiate and start the fights. But for carry, I think you want to kind of often fulfill the role of the guy who can actually click people with armlet. From there, you go, after the armlet and the radiance, you go blink basically every game. The hero kind of needs it. From there, BKB if you need it, Silver Edge if you want to solo kill people, Ags if you're the off lane or just the guy who's going to go in first. Maybe the enemy team is like hunting the back line and the Ags is going to save AA and let him get off his spells against like Night Stalker or whatever. There's a lot of value in a lot of different cases. And then finally AC, because the hero has some armor problems and it's good with the skeletons. All right, so getting into the second hero of the list is a hero I didn't think would be here because frankly I haven't been a fan of it for a long time. But I played it recently and felt great. I played 2 pubs on it. One of them got completely griefed. Shout out North American Dota. And the second one was European Dota, which was much more pleasant. All right, I'll move on. I'll focus on the hero. I get it. You just want to hear about Slaughter. Okay, fine. The starting item build, the hero's good. It's like win rate is insanely high. It's like the highest win rate hero on Dota buff. And it's been honestly just kind of ignored for a long time. Funny enough, it received a nerf to the E not too long ago, but it got buffed on Slitherine Crush recently. Outside of that, I mean, honestly, I think the redeeming quality of the hero is its ability to kill ancients. Like, because of the fact that every time you click ulti, you get a small puddle, or you stun, you get a puddle. When you have maxed bash, you get 32 damage. And then the bash does like triple damage to creeps, or like double. But it's just like crazy. You just wipe through ancients. Here's the build. Branch, gauntlet, stick. You want to man up, you want to chat up. Your hero has like fine damage. It's okay, it's not the best. So like maybe you can just go quelling instead of one of the gauntlets, but I don't know. I like being able to man up. This includes no tangos. This is a starting build. Branch, gauntlet, stick. Very important stick hero. Lacks sustain, lacks mana, needs the mana, so you buy the stick. After that, you buy treads. You basically just want to like buy a ton of tangos. Most lanes, I recommend buying 6 tangos. Why? You don't have a form of sustain. You're not a ring of health hero. This is a hero that will buy 6 to 9 tangos or 6 tangos in a salve in the laning stage and should be fine with that. You will be battling, you'll be harassed quite a bit, and as a result, you need the regen. From there, buy your wand. After that, you buy Mask of Madness. Some people, like a huge portion, buys Echo Saber. I just don't get it. Like, yes, it makes you tanky. This is the upside. It makes you kind of tanky. I feel like the problem is the hero just gets so kited and doesn't farm fast with this build. The nice part about this item that it gives you mana, and I will admit, if you go Mask of Madness, you have some mana problems. But here's the thing, you're buying Gauntlet. You have 2 components of Soul Ring, and Soul Ring's fantastic on this hero. It's good, right? You just click Soul Ring and you stun. You might be like, oh, but sustain. In the laning stage, yes, you have sustain problems. However, going into the mid game, you don't. And the reason why is Guardian Sprint. Your Q gives you 8 HP regen in Rivers. This is passive as well. So you just click your abilities, like your W and your ult, and you just heal. And the skill build is max Q after E. Some people like maxing W. I personally don't think it's good. So you max your Q, and it heals you a ton. And it gives you 4 armor. The armor is nice, and the armor from the Soul Ring is good too, because then when you buy Mask of Madness and you click it, and you reduce your armor, well, you have 2 armor from Soul Ring, and 4 from your Q. And now you don't have nearly as much armor problems, and you can take an armor neutral item as well if you happen to get one. Maybe Spark of Courage, that's a great item on this hero. Basically, I mean, I think the Mask is way better. In terms of farming ancients, it's not even remotely comparable. I mean, Mask of Madness is far better damage. In terms of going for solo kills, Mask of Madness is far higher damage. The downside is you're not as tanky and you have some mana problems. Personally, I think the build's not negotiable. And then you go Shard if you want to just be more of like an enabler. The Shard's so nice because when you're killing waves, you just click W. Even with level 1 stun, it puts amp on all of them for the same duration. And so it lets you farm really fast. It lets you blink on people and not have to like click amp. If you hit a multi-man stun, your teammates can hit whoever they want with the amp. It's really good. And then from there, if you need a BKB, you go BKB. If you want an Ags, you go Ags. Here's the difference between the two. The BKB is really good when the enemy team has heavy magic damage. The problem with the Ags is it does not save you from magic damage. So I saw a game where someone was against AA on Slaughter. You don't buy Ags against AA because the Ags gives you a ton of regen and it gives you status resist and it does not give you magic resist or immunity. So a hero like AA that completely ignores status resist with the W, Ice Vortex, slow, completely negates healing and does a ton of magic damage, you don't want a damn Axe, right? You want a BKB, so you buy a BKB, okay? If the enemy team is mostly chain stun with physical damage, you should buy Ags because it gives you 40% status resist when in Rivers, and it gives you armor and regen, so it makes you very survivable. And from there, it's just like Assault Cuirass. I think like Hex is fine some games if you just want to be that guy. I think Octarine is unironically very good on this hero when you have Ags. You just kind of sit in front of everyone, and with Mask of Madness, you'll do plenty of damage throughout the game, especially with the Shard. You can basically just be a stun bot. It's very, very powerful, especially with the Slithering Crush talent at a level 25. This Slithering Crush cooldown, bringing it to a 3-second cooldown. The Ocarina goes lower. However, I honestly think Corrosive Haze on Dispel was just better most games. I think this talent's just insane. Like late game when there's just Dispel, 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 Dispel. Right, getting to the final hero, the most broken hero of the patch. It's not the highest winner hero of the patch, but it's like top 3 or 5 on Dota buff. I think this hero can be a safe lane, a mid. I think it unironically can be a support. It's mostly played as an off lane. Like, I'm not kidding. I actually think Lone Druid's like not a bad support because it easily can trade any 4. Just buy an Oov on the bear and run it in, you know? Like, run it in. You can stack well on this hero. You can contest the runes very easily. Any role you can play it in. I recommend going about the same build. There's different builds, obviously, you can go. It's a very kind of interesting hero. It's universal, so there's a lot of angles. But the main one that I like is you start the game with 12 branches. Like, literally just buy 12 branches. Sometimes I think going 5 branches on the main hero is kind of good because then like you buy tangos and you're not clogged on slots, and then you buy items after that and you just, I don't know. I kind of like having all the tangos possible for the early denies in CS. So that's mainly what I do. I buy 12 and then I buy tangos after on the courier. Then from there, I immediately rush out a Blightstone because the hero right clicks a bajillion times. Then I buy a Corrosion, and I think the Corrosion is just incredibly good. You put it on the bear, obviously, for the increased slow on a melee hero. I keep the Blight on the main hero because I hit more with the main hero, funny enough. There's a lot of technicality to this hero. It has no bad laning matchups, and it scales obscenely well. Yeah, so you go the Corrosion, it helps you kill people. Then you buy Treads. Some people go Phase. I like Treads. I think the build-up's better. It's cheaper. I don't know. I prefer the Treads. It's better with Diffusal because you want attack speed with Diffusal because it does like flat damage, you know, on the mana burn. Then I will buy a Diffusal, which I will put on the bear, and that allows you to kill people. Basically, on Diffusal, you run around and kill people. After I buy Diffusal, I'll buy Boots for my main hero. After I buy Boots for my main hero, I'll start buying Harpoon on the bear. I'm kind of not a fan of buying like a bunch of attack speed and then Harpoon because like I feel like you kind of lose the value of like the double hit, but it's fine. The double hit slow is really nice on a hero like Lone Druid that has chase problems because none of its abilities are slows or disables besides Entangle, or the Root, which is like kind of unreliable. So having just a ton of disable on the Diffusal Harpoon allows you to not get kited, which is often the hero's main problem. And this item build solves that. When I'm buying the Echo for the bear, I start with the damage component of the Oblivion Staff, whatever that's called. Is it called Oblivion Staff? Quarterstaff, that one that gives 10 damage, 10 attack speed. Then obviously I complete that, I finish the Echo, I buy the Harpoon. If the Shard is obscenely broken because it's a good game for Dispels, I buy the Shard. And then finally, I just buy 6 to 7 Wraith Bands. Why? Well, the W shares armor between the bear and the hero. So at minute 25, which you'll start buying the Wraith Bands if you're having a good game around minute 22 to 23, by the time you have like 4 or 5 of them, it hits minute 25 and all of the Wraith Bands double in effectiveness. So essentially your net worth of the last like 4 or 5 minutes just doubles. It's insane, and you might be like, oh, but what about the slots? But you have 2 heroes. So you put a bunch of the Wraith Bands on the main hero, and you might be like, oh, but why sacrifice the bear damage? Why not buy another damage item on the bear? Because you don't want your hero to get bursted, and frankly, the hero cooks! You're universal, so all the stats from the Wraith Band make you cook, and you get double the attack speed, double the agility, so the Wraith Bands just make you hit for 20 attack speed more per, so your hero hits like a menace. And then, like, you just hit for 200. That's usually what it is. The bear with the Harpoon and the Wraith Bands with the Diffusal will hit for, like, 250, and the hero will hit for, like, 200. You're essentially hitting for 450 with extremely high attack speed because of your W. And then you have, like, 40 armor on the hero and, like, 30 on the bear. Physical damage, you just ignore it. Like, I play against TA, and she just tickles me. I take no damage. So you just run in like a psycho because your ulti also gives you armor. So then you have, like, 50-something. You can't die, and you can actually run in on your hero and click people. It feels insanely good. You also, like, I'll get caught sometimes in my regular form and just not die because I have 2k HP with 40 armor, and the bear heals me when it hits and can roar. You know, this hero is obscenely hard to kill, so I think the Wraith Bands are a key part. Then after that, there's so many angles for items. You can go Radiance so that you have more physical resist, and you can cut waves without the bear being able to attack. Basically, you can send the bear and TP it wherever you want. You can just burn waves to death. My favorite combo in the game right now, like literally it makes me so excited, is when I get Cloak of Flames and I have the Radiance, because I can just sit it in creep waves and creep camps on the side of the map completely alone and just farm half the map alone. And then when a fight starts, I just recall. Like if it's late game and I need to sit with my team, I just send my Barra with Cloak of Flames and Radiance and I can farm half the map. Fight starts, boom. 3 seconds later, it's with me, recalled. You know, it's just so fun. It's such a cool mechanic. You can get absolutely massive. And then you can go Manta after that, and you can have Radiance Mantas. And you get Mantas of the bear, and they're not tied to the hero, so they can hit wherever, so they can, like, siege for your team. They can cut waves for your team. You're a universal hero, so you benefit from the stats of the Manta. The Mantas hit pretty damn hard, and they cancel blinks extremely easily because they're stupid tanky. It's a really cool build you can go. I'm a huge fan of this build right now. I think it's fire. But alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!